Welcome back. We are once again with Craig Siebert from Kullman.mp4. Craig, we want to go through these tax credits issues, situations that you've got sort of listed here. We finished the last segment with the 401k and the armed forces. What is the energy saving tax credit? Things that you spent money on? What is that?
If the taxpayer incurred expenses on his principal residence for energy saving expenditures, storm doors, insulation, new heat pump, there's a credit of $500 available to them. And they want to take advantage of that this year.
What if they bought a heat pump and insulation, and is it $500 per item, or is it just $500 total?
$500 total.
They got to increase that one, I think, Craig, if we're going to get anybody really serious about energy saving out there. I'm just American Opportunity Credit. What's
Tim, I could not agree with you more.
Well, I think
absolutely.
I want to do cellular in my house, or not cellular, but solar in my house, and the wind. I'll do it all if they'll help me do it. I mean, if that's going to help. American Opportunities Credit. American Opportunity Credit.
Those are education credits for post-secondary education, namely college. There's a $2,500 credit for education expenses for those 4 years per child. If the expenses are for post-college graduate courses or for employer-related courses, then there's the lifetime learning credit, and that credit is $2,000 per student.
Okay. Now, this is post-high school.
Post-high school.
Post-high school. So if you work in a business and you took a class to better yourself for the business, that's the learning credit that you can look after.
That is correct.
Okay, great. The child tax credit. How much is that?
That's $1,000 for taxpayers with dependent children within a certain income level, and just by having dependent children, you get $1,000 per child. That credit is often overlooked by a self-prepared tax return. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I encourage taxpayers to look into.
Now, how do you think they came up with that number for the kids, $1,000? Is that the highest it's ever been, the lowest it's ever been?
No, it has graduated over the years.
Gotten higher?
It's gotten higher, up to $1,000. So it used to be lower. But it's been $1,000 for quite a while.
Don't you think it should give you a little bit more for a kid? That's more than $1,000.
They do increase the dependency exemption deduction, which is $3,700. That amount changes almost yearly.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's $3,700, for example, per dependent. Last year was $3,650.
And that one's not, the $3,700 is not missed. But why is this $1,000 one missed?
Well, first of all, it's a credit. The $1,000 number is a credit, not a deduction. So its value is higher than just $1,000.
Okay.
So it's.
How do people miss it? You say a lot of people miss this $1,000. How do they miss that?
Good question. But when we see returns coming in prepared, either self-prepared or from other kinds of preparers, we see that overlooked often.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Child and dependent care credit. We're talking about something different there?
For husband and wife who are wage earners and need to incur dependent care expenses for their small kids, daycare expenses, for example.
Okay, right.
Then if they're within a certain income level, they can get a credit for those expenditures.
And that didn't always used to be that case.
No.
Is that right?
No, that's correct.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to know. I'm glad they finally did that. That's nice. I mean,
exactly. Small kids, daycare expenses are
it's
high
a part of life
days.
now.
It's a part of life. Most families have two income earners now, so it's another benefit for the family.
Right. This adoption credit. This is a fairly large credit, as it should be, I would imagine.
It's a huge credit, $13,300 per child, and it's an expensive. It's a very expensive process, so they're very generous with the credit.
Sure.
So
I want to hit this. You've got something here. 4.2% of Social Security rates are deductible now?
The 4.2% on a taxpayer's wages, Social Security portion is deducted at 4.2%. It used to be 6.2%.
Okay.
So you've heard a lot of debate about that. The 4.2% rate is in effect now, but it goes back up to 6.2% in about 19 days, March 1st.
Okay.
So there's a lot of debate in Congress about whether to extend that benefit.
And how does this apply to people? What does the 4.2 represent? I mean, I'm getting lost.
Social Security.
Social Security
benefits. So this is the amount that an employee withholds from his salary for Social Security retirement benefits.
Right now we're withholding 4.2.
You're withholding 4.2.
My employer is withholding 4.2 for Social Security benefits.
That is correct. From your compensation.
It's going to go up to 6.2.
That's correct.
And so I guess the debate is that people don't want Social Security to be raised at that because it becomes a bureaucracy and they spend it in other places. Is that the issue?
That's correct.
So what's the importance of knowing it's at 4.2 going up to 6.2 in 19 days?
Well, their weekly or bi-weekly paycheck is about to get smaller, because the rate goes up. Right. So wage earners need every dollar they can, with increased costs in fuel and food and every other cost that we incur for everyday living. So this has been a nice benefit to have a lower rate for Social Security.
Okay. This is kind of your bread and butter here. I want to talk about this. We talked about this a little bit last week. This is for restaurant and retail owners. This aggressive depreciation that's going out, or part of it is going out partially in some forms. You want to talk about that a little bit?
2011, there are very aggressive rates for depreciation rates for expenditures to improve restaurants and retail establishments. There are very aggressive depreciation rates. Those expired at the end of 2011, so that that will be a debate, another debate that will happen during this year, whether to extend those benefits. There still are aggressive depreciation rates, but they're not as attractive as they were in 2011.
Right, and I think that's where, when you talk about going with an accountant, that is something that if you were to try to take advantage of those, that it would seem to me that would be something that you'd want to sit down and talk with somebody about. Because, and I could be totally wrong here, but it seems to me like if everybody just went in and got gung-ho and said, I'm going to take all the depreciation, and every retailer, every restaurant did that, you'd end up with a bubble sort of situation that would, because we've been using these 25-year depreciations on on a overhead vent for a long time now.
That's right.
So it seems to me like you guys would probably really be able to help in that sort of area.
It is a complex area, and taking advantage of the aggressive depreciation rates might be a mistake.
Right,
and it sounds great, but it's case by case.
Right.
And you really do need someone to help you navigate those rules to see if it's the most advantageous.
You're like a tax artist. You're like an artist. There's got to be an art to it, right? I mean, it's taking that depreciation.
It is.
One more thing I think we wanted to talk about real quick before you head to break: the 2012 tax rates that may become an issue again. What were we?
Exactly. Another reason to not only focus on 2011 information and getting your return, organizing your information and bringing your information to your preparer, but 2012, the lower rates expire at the end of 2012. And on January 1st, 2013, for example, capital gain rates can go up on investment income and capital gain income. And so it's important that you do some tax planning, because if those rates are going to increase, we know that the law says they're going to increase in 11 months, 10 and a half months, then it may behoove you to accelerate the sale of certain investments so that you have a lower tax cost.
And that sort of gets me into another thing. So you are not only the keeper of record for these people and sort of expert in taxes, but you also help people plan investments strategies, I guess, as well. Is that correct? You're kind of involved in that. You're not an investment banker. You're not doing that sort of the buying and selling, but you are somewhere in that triad of or I don't know, maybe it's more than 2 or 3 people that do that, but that's kind of part of your job as well. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, the tax cost is one component of an investment decision.
Right, and of course, when you have more money, the tax number is bigger.
Exactly.
Right. So. Well, Craig, that's great. We are once again here with Craig Siebert from Kullman & Siebert at 7 South Street. We're going to get a picture of your place to let people know where that is. We can start putting that in the thing. We're going to come back in a few minutes with Craig, the tax artist, and talk about applied taxes. C.C. Davis will be right up next with applied taxes. We'll be right back in just 1 minute.